Okay, my name is Ellen Timberlake-Volz. In real life, I'm a certified financial planner and have an office in Arlington. I throw that in because a lot of people think that when they want to get a historical marker that they call me or email me, and when I don't get back to them for a couple of days, they're like, I had one lady really chew me out because I didn't call her back like for 2 or 3 days. And I said, well, I was out of town on a business trip, and like my volunteer stuff kind of takes, second place to my real job. And she was very apologetic at that point because she did not realize that Tarrant County Historical Commission commissioners were strictly volunteers. She thought that she was talking to somebody that worked for the county, and so we got all that straightened out. So bear that in mind when you try to contact any of us on the commission for something, because we are volunteers. We're appointed by our county commissioner, and when Andy Wynn was elected several years ago, he was given the opportunity to appoint some of his own members to all the volunteer commissions, and the historical commission was one of them, and so I got in at that point in time. So we also have some at-large members. So there's no space for your precinct. We can always include you as an at-large member. What precinct do you represent, Stacy? Are you
At large?
You're an at-large. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's easier if I just do this. All right, historical markers. There are 15,000 historical markers throughout Texas, and many of them are recorded Texas historic landmarks. That is the highest honor that the state bestows on historic properties for architectural and historical significance. Requirements: age, significance, architectural requirements govern the eligibility of topics and sites when applying for either a subject marker, a historic Texas cemetery marker, a recorded Texas historic landmark marker. Applications must be submitted to the CHC, that's county talk for County Historical Commission. That's me. I'm the marker chair right now, and I review them and then approve the application, making sure it's complete. I do not fact check your narratives. I just really wouldn't have time to do that. But if you footnoted everything, then we've got historians on the commission that if something's in question when I read it, I can always double check with them. And then I forward it to the state of Texas. So I am the liaison. You would not communicate with the State Historic Commission and the marker people directly. You would always want to go through your county chair, because there's 254 counties in the state of Texas, and if they had, and I have about 15 active markers right now, 10 from last year, 2016, and about 5 more that are still in progress and at the foundry and whatnot. So we got 15 really active right this moment, and a new application season is about to close. And so when you multiply 15 markers per county times 254 counties, that could get out of hand as far as the state having to answer their emails. So they ask that all the communication is handled, kind of through the county chair, and that makes life simple, because a lot of things I can just, answer. When you submit an application, you submit with it a $100 application fee. And then after your marker is approved and is going to go into marker status, then they will send you an invoice for the complete amount of the marker. Now I'm using the state's handout because we hosted a marker workshop about a year and a half ago, and so they handed us some great information, so I'm stealing from that. Why write it when you can steal it, right? Historic Texas cemetery marker are only for burial grounds previously awarded a historic Texas cemetery designation. I've got a couple people now that want a marker for a family cemetery, but they have to submit the application and become a historic cemetery first. And then when they get that designation, then they can apply for a historic marker. These markers recognize the historic significance of a cemetery, and with the use of interpretive plaques, provide background on associated communities, families, events, and customs. You know, what's special about this cemetery? HTC markers must be placed at the cemetery, but since cemeteries are protected under other existing laws, they convey no restrictions on the property. So in other words, just because you have a historic marker there doesn't mean that it's protected from, you know, invading urban sprawl, if you will. Subject markers, another kind of a marker that might apply to you all. Subject marker are solely educational. They're solely educational, and they reveal aspects of local history that are important to a community or region. These markers honor topics such as church congregations, schools, communities, businesses, events, and individuals. A subject marker is placed at a site that has a historical association with the topic, but no restriction is placed on the use of the property or site. Again, it's not protecting just because, you know, Top Hill Terrace has a marker out there on Division Street, the old Bankhead Highway, doesn't mean that it gets any special protection. It's just a marker that informs the public of what happened here. Centennial markers were placed in nearly every Texas county in 1936 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Texas independence from Mexico. The state of Texas placed about 1,100 exposition buildings, memorial museums, statues, and granite and bronze markers and monuments around the state for the centennial back in 1936. I think the most famous one that you've probably all seen is Fair Park. So that was built for the centennial. And Fort Worth answered by bringing in Billy Rose and building Casa Manana. So, we may have won that one. No, I don't know. The Texas Historic Commission was not created until 1953. So now they monitor the 1936 centennial markers and make sure that, you know, if they need to be repaired or relocated, they coordinate those efforts. Okay, a registered Texas Historic Landmark. I think Stacy Luker can speak to that more than anybody here because she had one dedicated on the Grammar Pierce house where she and Eric have fixed up that house and live now, and dedicated that last May. So that's very exciting. That is an actual structure, and it's going to depend on the age and the historical significance, who lived there, who built the house, who bought it subsequently, who were they, as far as, you know, important in local or state history. Grammer's, he was a druggist, and Pierce's were, you know, had Indian heritage, and that was important because the house was in her name, and that was significant for that era. And so all of this kind of research is what you have to do to get an RTHL marker, or a subject marker for that matter. But most of you are going to be interested in getting the RTHL markers for your individual houses. So that's what you want to do, is really research those and find out who lived there, what's significant about the structure, the architecture itself, who built it, who was the architect. Is it something special as far as maybe, I don't know, maybe it has a secret tunnel, you know? Who knows? Top of Hill does. The marker process is about a year-long process. We are right now in the application period, which runs from September 1st to November 15th every year. So we're accepting applications for the 2017 class of markers. We'll close those out on the 15th. I'll send everything in that I've received. And then the State Historic Commission will meet in January, usually third or fourth week in January, and they will look at all the applications from all 254 counties and decide which ones are going to be able to move forward in the process for 2017. The state can produce about 165 new markers in a calendar year. So that's what they look at. It doesn't matter that, I submitted 10 last year, so I wasn't sure I would get all 10 of those. I thought maybe they might delay some of them, because it kind of depends on what the rest of the state is, actually submitting as well. But we did get all 10 of ours, so that was a good thing. This year we might not have as many, so then somebody else, Dallas, may have 10, who knows. But it does take about a year, because after it's approved, they'll send me a list end of January and say, congratulations, the following markers were approved. And then I'll notify the sponsor, and then they will then they'll send the sponsor an invoice for the marker. This information is 2 years old. The large subject marker, which is 27 by 42, is $1,800 with a post and $1,600 without a post. A small subject marker, 18 by 28, is available with or without a post, and they are $1,100. The Recorded Texas Historic Landmark medallion and plaque, and it has a round medallion with the state of Texas on it that says Recorded Texas Historic Landmark around it, and then it has the inscription on a square plaque underneath it. Those are also available with or without a post. Stacy and Eric chose to attach theirs to the house, which is kind of my preference too for a structure. But those are $800. And then if, say for example, Stacy and Eric find out some very interesting information about the Grammars or the Pierces that they didn't know in the past, and they go, oh, we should have included, I wish we would have known that, so we could have included that in the marker story. You can actually submit an application for a supplemental plaque for $350 for additional information that you can snipe below your existing marker, or those can also be placed on the poles. And you'll see that. I think Mount Olive Baptist Church in Arlington has a supplemental plaque. So that kind of gives you an idea on the cost. We're trying to raise money right now for a marker to mark the Terrell Heights neighborhood, and so we're bound and determined that if we have to go door to door collecting it $25 at a time, we'll come up with it. So the historic cemeteries have also large and small markers. They're the same as subject markers, and then when you get your historic cemetery designation, you also get kind of a neat little medallion with the state of Texas logo. So those are $300, I think. Yes. Once you pay the invoice, then they put your marker in queue. You don't write the narrative. You submit you write the narrative. You don't write the inscription. You submit a narrative, a historic essay, if you please, about your subject or your house or your property or whatever is your topic. And your narrative should be adequately footnoted. Your submission should include photographs, old and new, inside and outside if you can find them, surely. If you have blueprints or a map or a drawing of room layouts or an old map showing the location, and maybe it's identified as, so-and-so's house on the map, that's always helpful to kind of verify information. The state then takes all of the information you've submitted, and they write the inscription. And then they send that inscription to me, and I send it to the sponsor, and the sponsor looks at it, takes it back to their committee, and they kick it around, and we change some things and reword some things and move this up there and that down there and cross that out, and we submit. Then they send it back to me, and I fill out the form and send it back to the state, and they make all the changes. They want to know why, why that change. Well, because it just reads better, or because it's not exactly accurate. To call it an addition, to call it a subdivision instead of an addition is not appropriate because they didn't use the word subdivision in that era. So, we just made that correction on the Fairmount marker. So thank Michael for that. And so, all those little picky things. And then we send that back, and then they do a revised version, send it to me. I send it to the sponsor, and we pick it apart again. Then I read it, and I go, I don't think I like that. I like which. And so we'll switch it around again, send it back to the state. They'll send us another revised one. Finally, when everybody is done fiddling with it, they send it to me, and they say, okay, we like it. Send it on. So I send my approval in, that it's finally ready to go, and they send it to the foundry. Foundry is located in San Antonio. It's Salvos. They've been casting our markers for many, many, many years. And they cast it in aluminum. And then one day, the FedEx truck drives up, and there's a big shiny marker in a little box on your porch. And you take a picture of it and send it to me by email and say, I'm so excited I got my marker. Because that's what Stacy did. So it's a fun process. It does take about a year from submission, because when you got yours, we submitted in November, and then you got it, I'm thinking
October or November.
following October, November, December, because it was cold out, I remember.
Yeah.
And then she waited until
May.
the Fairmount weekend, to open house weekend, to dedicate it, just
On
because make it kind of a party. So, but that's kind of fun, and that's kind of the track, if you will. There are samples on the THC website, Texas Historic Commission website, of narratives. There are sample submissions showing pictures and blueprints and maps and things, so you kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. The website is recently changed. It is now thc.texas.gov. So go on there and go under the Preservation tab and go to Markers, and you can find all kinds of information about how to apply, what they're looking for. They also have a program that they accept applications in the spring up until June 15th called the Undertold Marker Story. And they choose 4 or 5 topics every year that they feel like that they don't have a lot of markers out there that address those topics. Maybe women in engineering or something of that nature, Hispanic culture. And so if you have a topic that falls in one of those categories and you submit as an undertold story, if they approve you, you get your marker paid for out of everybody else's application fees. That's what the application fee actually goes for, is to fund undertold story markers. So we don't get, 5,000 markers for churches. So we get lots of stories told. You'll also find information on where to do the research on the THC website. You're going to want to check the Texas State Library and Archives Commission, our Tarrant County Archives of the Fort Worth Library downtown. Very helpful, has a lot of information. You can look in census records for who might have lived in your house. The Secretary of State has ancient records from businesses, who owned businesses in the cities and towns and across the state. The Texas Department of Transportation, Texas Education Agency, is going to have lists and things of interest that can tell you a little bit more about who might have lived in your house when it was built. WPA records. WPA was very active in Dallas-Fort Worth area building things. Will Rogers. So, maybe you had somebody that worked for them or had worked on a project for them. Newspaper articles, old advertisements will give you some insight on some of the businesses. The U.S. Patent Office. University of North Texas hosts the Portal to Texas History, which is texashistory.unt.edu, and that's also a good source of information of anything that has to do with Texas history. The Texas Historical Commission also has an atlas, and if you go to their landing page and you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, it says, check out the atlas, and you click on it, and you can search by county, you can search by museums, existing markers, associations, historical associations, all kinds of things. You can find just about anything you need to find about history in Texas in the atlas. So there's a lot of information. The LDS genealogy has FamilySearch.org. That's helpful in maybe finding family members and tracking down owners of houses and such. And that's about all I've got. Sanborn maps are always good, shows locations of businesses. So a lot of research, and a lot of that's available down at the library or in the Tarrant County Archives. Our Tarrant County Archives are now located in the Tarrant Plaza building, which is at 500 Taylor Street in downtown Fort Worth. It's kind of catty-cornered across the street from the Tim Curry Center where they used to do jury duty there. I don't know, we still do jury duty there? It's down there by the courthouse. You'll find it. So, any questions or anything quickly? I have a few business cards with me. I'll leave those. You can, email me is the easiest way to find me. My cell phone's also on that card, though. If you write to that address, that's the Tarrant County Plaza building address, though. And I don't get those. We only meet every 2 months, so that mail never comes in a timely fashion. I get invitations to dedications on snail mail, and I never see them. So not until it's 2 months after the fact. Yes, ma'am.
So that list that you just rattled off on that last piece of paper that you were looking at, that
Yes.
seems to be a wealth of resources.
This is a great little piece of paper that I just scribbled off this afternoon.
Because I was wondering if there's one place that all of those are located.
I actually pulled them from the presentation
Okay.
that they did at the marker workshop, so I'm sure that you can find them on the the Texas Historical Commission website. But if you don't want to look, we can give them.
I can make that available.
Give them to that lady, and she could probably do something smart with it
I bet you can.
and make it available. So if you have any questions, just email me and I'll make it clearer.
Thank you.
So what else?
So what's the status of the Fairmount Mike? And have we settled on the wording?
We've got final, the second set of corrections have been sent to me, and I hope to get those into the correct format and send them on to the state tomorrow and get that rolling. So they're pretty good about getting those revisions in there and back to us. It only took, a week, even less last time. And so they'll send it back to me, and I'll send it back to Mike, and we'll say, yes, or no, we want to change one more little word or something. So, but we're back on track, so.
So if we've got the wording down in December, what's the timing?
This is October 25th. We'll have that wording finished by mid-November. And, there's just so many times you can switch back and forth. Well, we took it from about 12 or 15 corrections on the first one down to, I think you got 3 this time or 4. So we've really gotten down to minor stuff now. So I think we're almost happy with it. So I expect it to go to Foundry mid-November. And I expect it to be shipped to y'all by end of December, January for sure.
Yeah. We can dedicate it next year's, this coming year's home.
Yeah, I think that'd be an excellent time. Excellent time to dedicate it. It'd be great. So, I know y'all were a little worried. It got snagged up there for a little while. The first time they send the inscription to me and I forwarded it on, it has a deadline date on it of, when to get those corrections back, and if you don't meet the deadline date, then they're going to pull your application and move you to next year. And that's not really true. I don't tell them, but we got it back in track. And what happened? The only downside is it probably pulled it out of queue for a little while, so some other ones got ahead of you. But it didn't. It wasn't that big a deal. Nothing to worry about. And they like me at the state, so that doesn't hurt anything. So, What else, anybody? Everybody's gonna apply for a marker. I don't think you probably can get it in by November 15th of this year. So you have 20 days
I
to
want
really
next year
hustle.
to apply for
But maybe next year, maybe we do another one or two in the neighborhood. So that's very cool. It's very cool. Stacy, it's neat, isn't it?
It is, it's very neat.
Yeah.
We need more.
You can get you a Griffin and put it out front, paint your toenails.
Now Harley and Eloise are special.
So what else? Anything else? Splendid.
Quick
Yes.
question, if you.
Business card?
If we're already designated Texas Historic, registered Texas Historic landmark, however, plaque is gone for 20 years. Just wondering if, how, do we still have to be part of that 165 list?
No.
Or do you get it?
No, if you need a replacement marker, if you're, you had a marker at one time and your marker was stolen, if, the marker at Log Cabin Village was taken out by a city bus during an ice storm, and so it's kind of in rubble right now. Well, last time I saw it, it was on their porch, but I don't know where it is now, but it was pretty dinged up, like it had a big rip in it, and it's hard to rip aluminum, but. And the reason they haven't resubmitted for a replacement is because they want to do some actual changes to the wording, because they have discovered some other, information, and they're questioning some of the facts that are actually on the marker from 20 years ago or whenever it was originally put up. But as far as if you just, your marker is damaged, you can just submit for a replacement marker, and there's no discount on the fee. It's still the same fee. But, if a bus hits it, that's insurance money. So the fee is not an issue when they're damaged. Also, if you move your marker for some reason, the marker for St. Joseph's Hospital, when they demolished that hospital, they moved that marker from where it used to sit right in front of the building. Since the building's no longer there, it's kind of stupid to leave it there. So they have relocated it to more of a park area or area with some trees and a bench or something, so it makes more sense. So it's still in the general vicinity, but you do submit that, and there's a marker relocation form, and we send it with pictures and the reason for moving it to the state, and put a copy in the county archives so that we can always locate those markers. Those markers, by the way, even though you write the check for them, they do stay the property of the state of Texas. So it's, not like something that you can just decide you'll just take with you whenever you move or something. So they do stay with the property, and they are the property of the state of Texas. So, but we do appreciate people that put their efforts and their money. A lot of people think the state pays for markers, and they just magically spring up like wildflowers all over the state, and it's not necessarily true. There's a lot of hard work that is behind it, a lot of dedication from somebody who really cares about history, and not to mention the, Pinunzi that has to change hands to pay for the thing, because the state doesn't have a budget, and neither does the county. So, and where have we heard that before? So, okay, well, if that's all, Stacy has my list of, I'll leave some cards. We'll see you. Thank you.